Hi, everybody. Welcome to Radio 815, the podcast dedicated to examining the work of writer, director, producer J.J. Abrams, as well as his greater extended Bad Robot universe. I'm Matt Crandall, here with my co-host Marcelo Inostroza, as we continue to be trapped in the prison of our own making that is rewatching Alcatraz, the first and only season. Today we are talking about episode 11, entitled Webb Porter, which is all about Rami Malek. Academy Award winner Rami Malek is Webb Porter, the struggling violinist who kidnaps women to make bows out of their hair. And you won't believe how much time we were going to spend on this serial murderer who you could not give a flying fuck about, with tinnitus and magic blood. And we're going to spend 30 minutes of a 43-minute episode with him on screen just being weird and leering at women. Marcelo, how did you feel about this episode of Alcatraz that, if you can't tell already, I am exasperated with the formula of this goddamn show?
The start of this episode really catfished me because it starts out with Rebecca and the coroner shooting pool. And then, so one of the big complaints for the show for me has been that the show hasn't focused on the relationships between Rebecca, Soto, and Hauser and the coroner. I can't believe how much fucking time they spent with this violinist. I didn't care. The only saving grace about this episode is that it seemed to focus more on the grander story that the series was trying to tell. The massive secret behind how these prisoners are coming back to our present day from the 60s. So I really appreciated that. I didn't like the fact Rebecca's grandfather was dropped from this episode, because if you guys remember, or if you were listening last week, he had a presence in the episode. So I thought that his magic blood was going to be the key, finding out how these prisoners are able to come back. But it turns out to be someone else that I kind of don't care about because he just showed up this week. Despite our main characters being on screen less and less, I enjoyed the time with Rebecca, with Soto and Hauser, but they didn't give us enough of it. This fucking episode pissed me off, but it pissed me off just a little bit less.
And I'm still pissed off, but they are doing some stuff right. But what they are not doing is they keep hiding the ball, and we can tell that they are hiding the ball. So 2 weeks ago, we had the plot where finally it's raised, hey, maybe if you get one of the 63's blood, if they have enough colloidal silver, we can wake Lucy up. And then last week, we hunted down a guy, and then they were like, oh, sorry, he didn't have enough silver in his blood, so that story didn't go anywhere. And now it's like, oh, well, now we hunted down a guy, and oh, he does have enough silver in his blood. I'm like, well, then why the fuck did we even introduce that 2 episodes ago when we had last week that was just a nothing episode where you guys just punted that down a whole week? And they keep doing that, where they introduce, the grandfather, Tommy, last week, and then he's not in this week. And so I'm like, well, then probably next week he's coming back, because they keep pushing everything down just to stretch out the story. Now, I'm thankful that last week I said, what the fuck happened to all the inmates in the Supermax prison of Hausers? And this week we got a shot of all of them, and they are starting to round them up again, because we completely dropped that all these guys have just been hanging around in cells for a couple of weeks. We now at least got the Lucy secret out, where us and Hauser knew that she looked the same as she did all those years ago. Now they know that she's a 63. So I appreciated that. But then, as you said, the beginning of this is Rebecca and the coroner shooting pool. Well, last week she was talking to Soto about maybe we should go on a date, and we didn't see that, and now Soto's not even fucking here when they're out out hanging at the bar. I'm like, what the hell? Like, give this guy something to do. He just gets on the phone and calls in, and I'm like, okay. And even the characters have started to voice their frustration because there's a moment early on where they're like, oh, I wonder where Hauser is. You know, he's doing all this shady shit and he's never filling us in. And then, of course, Sam Neill's like, I'm right behind you, you stupid fucks. And then by the end, when they find out that Lucy's a 63, they're like, maybe we should confront Hauser. And Soto's like, but should we? Like, the guy's never going to tell us what's actually happening. And I'm like, yeah, he's never going to tell you what's actually happening. And they're like, oh, is this silver blood thing important? And I'm like, I don't know. The show won't fucking tell us. Like, they keep pretending like it is and it's not. So the characters in the last 4 minutes, like, voiced all these concerns. And it was only because the characters that I care about were only in the opening 3 minutes, the last 4 minutes, and like 90 seconds in the middle. The rest, we spent so much time. And it was egregious because we are with Rami Malek in the present. And then we were flashing back to Rami Malek. Yes, we got more flashbacks where Lucy was there and a young Hauser. So I was actually thankful, but they kept trying to tie those into Webb Porter. And I was like, I do not fucking care about this violinist asshole who's got tinnitus and has got his ear up against the thing. Like, I couldn't care less. Literally, just give me the characters tracking down this guy who's murdering women. Don't give me any of his story. I don't need to see any of it on screen. Have them capture him in the last 5 minutes and then tell me about the blood. Like, I don't need to see him tying women up and torturing them and his mommy issues when he's got drowning vision. And then just, again, like, we need to wrap this up. Okay, we're going to use some magic search engine that can tell me what redheads went to the opera on Tuesday. Like, what the fuck?
I really appreciated the flashbacks between Hauser and the psychiatrist woman, because the psychiatrist woman fucking got shot in episode
2.
She's fucking been on a bed, so I'm really, really happy that that relationship has been has been finally explored, because that's a cog of this series that you and I have wanted. But just the way that the story is being constructed by the writers is fucking annoying. It's absolutely fucking annoying. I would have really, really preferred it if Rebecca Soto and the coroner woman got together and basically gave us all this information over not like a dinner date, but like a okay, let's go to Rebecca's house and let's try and figure out not only this fucking stupid case that we got this week, but the grander mystery that's happening here. Let's do something like that instead of fucking following around a really good actor in Rami Malek and trying to figure out his mommy issues and his quirks of wanting to be a violinist. Listen, I did appreciate that Dr. Banerjee, the psychiatrist woman, really seems to have an empathy for the prisoners in Alcatraz. So maybe when she talks again next week, she'll be what we wanted Rebecca's grandfather to be. I think, listen, I truly think that Rebecca's grandfather is the literal manifestation of a MacGuffin. I think when that guy shows up, he's not going to do a fucking thing. And if he does do something, it's going to fucking piss us off.
I think you're right. And yeah, like, some of the Lucy stuff in the flashbacks was interesting because she does care about the patients. And even somebody being like, your patient, don't you mean the murderer? And I appreciated that in terms of the insight into her character. But like, this show keeps trying to make us sympathize with some of these people. And that's why we're spending so much time with them. And like, I just can't. Like, I just can't. When, Rami goes to the audition and he's incredible at the violin. And then they're like, hey, can you take a look at the sheet music? Because we keep getting a lot of frauds who don't know how to fucking read music like a bunch of dummies. So can you just look at this? Because we can't have some imposter stepping into the thing. And then he's like, oh, and they're like, oh, I don't think he could read the music. He's one of these dummy imposters we're talking about. And I'm like, that just wouldn't, that didn't make me feel bad for him. It just made me mad at the show. Like they think that this is going to build some sort of interesting character dynamic that I care about, and it's not, right? Especially just because we see him really, like the scenes of like women tied up and him doing stuff was disturbing and just off-putting. And Malik already has like a disturbing creep look to him, which is why 99% of the time he's playing like an outsider who is disturbed or like a villainous creep. When he's not singing We Will Rock You, like, you know, most of his other roles, because there's something about him that just feels off. He's a fine actor, but this character sucked. Like, this character was just like, I don't care when you give me the backstory of like his mommy issues and the bathtub and all this stuff that I'm just like, guys, let me see what Soto is doing on a Saturday night. Like, I would rather just hang out with the characters I like. And it's become clear that that's not what this show is. And again, the Hauser flashbacks with Lucy helped because I'd rather at least spend time with a character that I'm kind of connected to rather than 30 minutes of a 44-minute episode with the unsympathetic murderer. Like, I don't know why we're doing this week after week. Even the ones that are kind of sympathetic because they went to Alcatraz for something that was not their fault or they were falsely imprisoned. But like, it's characters we just met and we're not going to see them again in any sort of meaningful context unless the whole flashbacks were about how Webb Porter was the whole linchpin and knew everything about the 63s. And then in the future, have him doing something that's going to be meaningful to the overarching mystery, then I might have cared. But like him auditioning and just knocking on doors, talking to women, like I'm just like, guys, this is, I just can't believe we've got, you know, this deep bench, Soto, Madsen, Hauser, who I like. And if each episode of Alcatraz takes 8 days to film, all three of those people work one day. And it's the guest stars who worked 7. Like, this is not how you build a TV show. And they found that out the hard way. That like when your guest stars are the star of your show, but your show is a serialized story, that doesn't work. If you're doing an anthology show where every episode was just some self-contained story that didn't have an overarching mystery, then fine. But that's not what this has been designed to be.
Oh, at this point, I'm crying bloody murder in my mind because I'm like, Jesus, I just want some answers. I mentioned last week that I would like some answers, and I truly think that that's what I'm gonna get. I'm gonna get sprinkles of answers, but I'm not gonna get an overall satisfying answer to this grander mystery. The other thing that has been fucking driving me crazy, over the last couple episodes, you guys do remember that when the series started, like our first 63 woke up in actual Alcatraz. These episodes start out with our villains already in the world, and I'm like, okay, if you go to sleep in 1963 and you wake up in today's present day, you're not going to know what the fuck is going on. So I understand that you want to spend less time with the criminals, man. But okay, let's spend less time with the criminals. But when you introduce the criminals, make them feel like a fish out of water for the time that you have them on screen. And what you just said blew my mind. In old television, you had to be shooting a new episode every 8 days, and the fact that your principal actors would only work 1 or 2 days and your guest stars would work the rest of the week it is inconceivable to me how this could happen. Like what the hell? Unless the production team knew that the show was already going downhill, and they were like, you know what? Let's just cut our losses. Let's make it easier on our main stars, and let's lean on the guest stars to save face.
Well, and it keeps the show cheaper, which is probably part of like the logistics at play here with the way that this show ended up being structured, is that it's cheaper. We aren't spending a lot of time in the expensive sets. Like, we are not seeing the real Alcatraz or anything like that, right? Like, and as you said, we did have some episodes where like we were there right when the people kind of reemerged and they were disoriented. But also in those early episodes, they had some sort of mission when they came back, whether it was vengeance, whether it was an objective, and the other stuff was peripheral to like them rounding stuff up or doing side quests. And now it's just aimless. Like, they show up, they've been here a long time, and they just can't help but go back to their murderous ways. And I'm like, but why? Like, this is in service of what? So they just need to give us more answers sooner. Luckily now Lucy is awake. Like, if they push that shit another week, like if next week Lucy's not even in it until the week after, I'm going to be absolutely furious. I'm getting a little annoyed at the way that the show is done. You know, every time we're in like the Alcatraz Supermax Hauser's thing, which like we aren't in very often except for when Hauser goes to see the coroner, and now hopefully now that Lucy's awake we can spend more time there. There is like this bizarre background noise that's in every scene there that is driving me up a fucking wall. And I don't know what it is, but it's like it's this weird like mechanical yet kind of like organic sound, and I guess it's supposed to be like the ambience of just the weird sci-fi-ness of the setting. But like when I watch some of these episodes with headphones on, it's so loud, and I'm just like, this is adding nothing. Why did you guys do this? It just makes the show feel more sci-fi when nothing that's happening on screen is the sci-fi that this show claimed to be built upon. Like, so much of it is now just like real world shit, other than the sci-fi supercomputers that can track down redheads who went to see violinists on a Friday. But I'm just like, they need to add back in more of the sci-fi, almost magical realism element of like, when these guys come back, I need them to be not super soldiers, but like on a mission with some sort of super knowledge that makes them really hard to catch, rather than just a whiny guy who wants to play violin for some ladies. Fuck you.
Make the criminals that come back hunt down keys that actually unlock the grand mystery of the show. You remember that? The key thing. We also mentioned that last week, that got dropped. I listen to these episodes half the time with headphones, and the other half without headphones. But I have heard that sound, and that actually gave me an idea. What if that sound is somehow connected to the way that these prisoners come back? What I mean, what if that's like a resonance frequency?
They probably intended that it was going to mean something that they could then reveal, but like with 2 episodes left or whatever it is, like there's no way they're gonna do that. And I'm like, yeah, if you used it more sparingly, then maybe it would be cooler. But I also just feel like they're like, hey, can we get like some sort of weird noise that's gonna like creep people out? You know, like the smoke monster on Lost, but like our own thing that we just throw in the background of every scene in this building. And I'm like, why?
Yeah. The show now is just a microcosm of just because, and it feels like to me that everybody involved with the show at this point were packing their bags to go home to work on the whatever they had lined up next. Like like it'll be really interesting to me to hear what the showrunners of this show did after Alcatraz. Like that'll be really interesting to hear. Like cuz this must have been a really awful experience for them.
Yeah, well, and we're just at a point where like it's almost become like an insulting parody of the kind of show it should have been. Where like they're like, "Oh, you want more of this? You want us to revisit this? Well, we'll hint at it and then we'll just kick it down the road 3 episodes and hope that you're stupid enough that you don't remember. And then when we remind you, we're going to present it like it's new information." And I'm just like, "Guys, this was not your milieu. This was not the right show for the people who were running this." And even like I thought there'd be more revelations because last week I said Jack Bender, and then Jack Bender did this one too, and I'm like, no, like this guy just needed some work, and there was nothing special brought to the table for this episode, other than now we look at it as a curio where last week 2-time Academy Award winner Mahershala Ali, this week Academy Award winner Rami Malek. But like at the time, those guys were just low-level TV guys, right? So like it wasn't like they were heavy hitters. Thank God the end is in sight because like I can't do it anymore.
I can't take it anymore. You know what? I think the acting pedigree of these actors like Rami Malek and Mahershala Ali are things that we're bringing into the episode, and we think that because they're Academy Award winners, the product of the show is somehow going to be better, but it's just not, because like Matt said, when they actually did the show, Mahershala and Rami weren't at the status that they are now.
Yeah, it's just like a fun piece of trivia, like when Chadwick Boseman showed up on Fringe, and it was like, oh, and it's like, oh, well, he was in 10 minutes and it was a nothing part, but because it's, Black Panther, R.I.P., we lean in now. But so far this show does not have me leaning in nearly as much as I would like it to. Hopefully in our remaining episodes, guys, we are like in the super home stretch of this. So I really hope that by the time we wrap, it will feel worth it. Not as frustrating as Undercovers, but I'm starting to feel like we probably are going to be a little frustrated. So we do have 2 episodes left. Next week, we'll be talking about episode 12, Garrett Stillman. The week after that is the series finale, which is entitled Tommy Madsen. And it's like, fuck you guys. Like, I want that episode this week. Like, it should have been this week. You guys teed up all the Tommy Madsen shit last week, and you're telling me that it's not until episode 13? Again, emblematic with everything that's kind of not working with Alcatraz for me. If you guys like the show, let us know. Like, follow, subscribe, anywhere you get podcasts, on YouTube, social media feeds. Just check for Radio 815. Leave a comment. We'll read it on the show. You want to get in touch with me? That's a no-go. But if you want to log some movies, we can go to letterboxd.com. My username is MDC3000. I will be logging movies on there. You can log movies. I can like your reviews or whatever. I will follow you if you follow me. Marcelo is more interested in actual online discourse with you. Marcelo, how can the people get in touch?
If you want to get in touch with me, you can get in touch with me at 2 places. I'm on X, or formerly known as Twitter. I'm at CreekFanatic88, or you can log some movies with me also on Letterboxd at the same handle, CreekFanatic88. And if you do follow me on Letterboxd, I will also follow you back.
There we go. So let's all follow each other, and let's follow our way out of Alcatraz prison. We are so close to the end. Thanks for sticking with us. Until next time, Radio 815, over and out.
Radio 815 is a Balloonhead Productions presentation in association with Killer Newt Productions.